they go in and smack the brakes off the Indianapolis Colts 38-27, scoring their highest point total of the year. Of course, their second highest point total was against the New England Patriots with the 34-0 win. I got to give credit to my boys being resilient in this one and not giving up, because when we were down 17-7, Derek Carr strip sack, I'm just standing there at the TV like, oh, come on, man. Not to where, not in this type of game, not on the road, not against the Colts. Like, yes, we play better on the road, but damn, seriously, we were about to sit there and play that type of football game. But we had different plans because we outscored the Colts 31-10 after going down 17-7 in this game, overcoming a double-digit deficit to win by double digits on the road after Derek Carr got strip sacked, and that led to a touchdown. And to put it even more in perspective, the Saints were 1-8 in games dating back to last season when they were trailing by 10 or more points in just the second quarter. The Saints responded with an 8-play scoring drive that traveled 75 yards, ended with a 20-yard touchdown run from Taysom Hill to cut that lead to a field goal. We go out and get the 3-and-out, force a Colts holding penalty, and then RASHID SHAHEED has a great return on the punt down to New Orleans' own 37-yard line. That set them up for a bold call to hit the 58-yard bomb from Derek Carr to RASHID SHAHEED. Gave the Saints the lead, and they would not look back after that big bomb. And that's how you like to lead. That's how you like to finish on, one of your, last few scores of the game. That's how you like to push ahead. Let them know that you're capable of that. Let them know that you will go out there, 3 targets, 3 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. Let them know that Derek Carr is getting comfortable with RASHID SHAHEED, who is kind of looking like the wide receiver 1 right now. And keep on feeding RASHID SHAHEED, because I love this guy more and more every single week. And we see that him and Derek Carr are getting on that same page. Michael Thomas is coming around some more. We'd like to see Chris Olave already be on the same page, but it is what it is, because we do see RASHID SHAHEED holding down his weight and really just performing for this team. Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill. Most rushing attempts in a game since week 2. He had 9 for 63 in this game. He ran 9 for 75 in week 2, and that is a major aspect of what Taysom Hill is able to do. And we know that Taysom needs to be used more often. He needs to be in this offense. Not as much as possible, but as much as you can make it suitable for him. I guess that would be as much as possible. Then you want Taysom in there. And, they don't have another major big play threat in the backfield, or really a big play threat like outside of Kamara and Shaheed. And that feels like enough, right? But knowing that Taysom can come in there, give you different looks, run the football, hell, even throw a pass if you need him to. 20-yard touchdown run was the longest rushing attempt of the season for the Saints. And that showed you that they don't have a lot of big plays out of the backfield with Kendre, with Jamal, with AK. The Saints are now 17-1 in football games where Taysom Hill runs 7 or more times. That's a big sample size. And we know that not always causation or correlation is direct, however that saying goes, the cause doesn't always directly correlate to what the numbers show you, but 18 games of when Taysom Hill has ran the ball 7 or more times and you've only lost 1 time. I said it earlier in the year, when the Saints use Taysom 7 or more times, they know how to make this guy get put into the football game in very good spots. And the Saints were able to utilize him in a very, very effective way. You love Isaiah Foskey coming in and making a big play as well. That was almost a scoop and score. I saw the arm going forward on the replay, so it does fall as an incomplete pass. But again, overall, the Saints were resilient in this game. When they go down 17-7, and after I see Derek Carr get a strip sack and kind of get him rattled, I'm starting to worry about Derek Carr's attitude a little more and more as the season goes on, but it seems like it kind of tailored back in this game. I'm not going to be mad at him for yelling at receivers and trying to get them on the same page, but when they're not drawn up in the play and they're not even on the read, you just got to scale yourself back a little bit, but Derek Carr stepped up when he needed to in this game. He was efficient. He was dealing it. He wasn't overthinking anything. But Chris Olave and him still have to get on the same page, because, to basically put the game away, to put the dagger in the game early on, Chris Olave had a touchdown literally bounce off of his helmet. The Saints are feeding Olave. He had a game-high 9 targets, but only 5 catches. And I can see the Saints and Derek Carr really trying to prioritize Chris Olave in this offense. And we know that Olave and Carr are going to need to have a lot more communication. We saw that the reports of them really working things out in the not in the bye week, but after the previous game. and wanting to get them more worked into the system to where they could be on the same page. I believe it'll mesh. I believe it'll happen. It'll come along. Chris Olave and Derek Carr are still going to be able to make, some great plays together. And I'm starting to get the feeling that it's going to be later in the season, which is okay with me because that's when we're going to need it the most. Of course, we need it now, but if you're saving something special for me for a few weeks down the road, I'm totally here for it. Again, RASHID SHAHEED, 3 for 153 and a touchdown. Can't say enough about him. But the Saints are, and they have been, susceptible to the run. And that's why I was hoping they were buyers at this trade deadline. The Saints did not do anything at the trade deadline. But when Indianapolis wanted to run the football, they absolutely did it. They ran for 164 as a team on just 24 carries. Jonathan Taylor had 95 yards in this game. Oddly enough, only had one carry in the entire second half. And Shane Steichen said he wasn't hurt. 66 yards from Zach Moss as well. They both had gains of 40-plus yards at times during the contest. So we see that the Saints do have to get better on the defensive side of the football when it comes to running. 371 yards and 27 points isn't the Saints defensive culture that we've seen lately. It's not the Saints that we've seen this year in more times than not. But I will say it was nice to see my team hang with the top 10 offense in terms of rush yards per game, pass yards per game, and points per game because the Colts can do that. And I would have liked to see us do it against a quarterback like Anthony Richardson. We know he is out for the year, unfortunately, but the Saints still put up 38 points and won a shootout by 11, 38-27 against a top 10 offense in rush yards, pass yards, and points per game. But the reason why I'm not going to be like, oh, this is the game that possibly saved the season, as some people are trying to say, because it's a bottom 10 team in defensive rush yards per game, defensive pass yards per game, and they are now dead last in the NFL in defensive points per game. Speaking of the Indianapolis Colts. And that's something that you just have to take into account. Like, it's just like when we beat the Patriots 34-0. That's what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to go on and win that football game. Shutting them out is great. 34 points is absolutely immaculate. But you go in and win that game, and getting wins like that, yes, is going to make you better as a team. That is going to give you that reinforcement, that practice to know that when you got to put a game away, you got to do it. You're not playing down to your competition. But if the Saints do start to go on a roll, I do think we could look back at this game and be like, that Colts game, when we were down 17-7 in the second quarter, and when Derek Carr, had the strip sack and they ended up turning it into points, like we understood, or excuse me, down 17-7 after the strip sack, we understood that we didn't, like the Saints fans didn't want to see that game get away from them. The Saints don't. They outscored them 31-10 after going down 17-7, and the Saints just show that they can be resilient when they like to be. Now, the next few games, well, shoot, excuse me, let me get into this a little more, and then we'll talk about what's coming up for the Saints, and we'll get our power rankings and get out of here. So the Saints went into this game, and I believe they still are the league's most penalized team. And that's not going to change, unfortunately, anytime soon, as it's going to be more discipline, more work that's got to be done internally with this team. They were flagged 8 times for 73 yards, giving up 3 first downs by penalties to Indianapolis, and the issues are really impacting every phase of the game. 4 penalties on the offense for false starts on Jawan Johnson, Garcia, Pete, and of course, Eric McCoy. The defense was flagged 4 times as well, twice for DPI against Marshawn Lattimore, which we don't like to see that, and we usually don't see that from Marshawn. He also had a holding call as well. And then we had a face mask on Carl Granderson, which usually Carl Granderson plays a pretty clean football game. He's been balling out for the Saints this year, one of our best defensive players without question. He's earning the bag that we gave him. But despite all of that, despite the Saints winning a shootout with a top 10 team, the Saints have still only won 2 of their last 4. And they've only the Saints have still lost 2 of their last 4. And they've lost 4 of their last 6. The Saints started 2-0, and now they're 4-4. 2-0, and now they're 2-4 down the stretch. The Saints have won 2 football games in the last month and a half. And that's pain to say. That's pain to think. Being at the Jags game, knowing that we possibly came back, Foster Moreau drops a touchdown pass, knowing that we could have beat the Packers, knowing that we stunk it up against the Bucs. Like, the Saints could be in a lot better position right now than they are. And everyone can say that about all their teams, right? When you're a diehard, you're going to remember moments, calls, plays that didn't necessarily go your way. And you can be like, damn, that really changed the trajectory of it. But the Saints still have to play better against better competition. They still have to win the football games that they're supposed to, not play down to their competition that they've liked to for the last couple of years. But you look at the schedule coming up. They got Chicago at home. The Saints will be at home taking on Chicago and Tyson Bagent. Obviously, we're going to go and play Minnesota, who just lost Kirk Cousins. They signed Josh Dobbs. So that's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out. I think we could take full advantage of Josh Dobbs. It depends on Justin Jefferson being in that game. Apparently, there's going to be no Jettas in that game, but we'll see. So we could easily be 6-4 going into this bye week, which will really benefit us because then we'll come out. I'll be at the Saints Falcons game in Atlanta, and Atlanta just benched Desmond Ridder as well. So the Saints went from possibly playing Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, and Desmond Ridder to Tyson Bagent, Josh Dobbs, and now it looks like it's going to be Taylor Heineke. And it wasn't really a gauntlet of quarterbacks, but when you knew that there was a Trevor Lawrence you were playing, when you knew that there was a Kirk Cousins you were playing, when you know that there's a Jared Goff coming up that you're going to be playing, that was the thing is the Saints weren't going to play a lot of great quarterbacks this year. They get a break at a good point in the season. They could easily go into the bye 6-4, come out, play Atlanta, beat them, be 7-4, and just be looking just a few games down in the season and saying, hey, we have a good of a chance as anybody to win this division and do what we need to do to play well in the playoffs.